Hey guys, welcome back. In this video we're fixing the John Deere 1360 mower. So unfortunately the gearbox has gone. Okay, so what do I mean? So this is the gearbox shaft and this is the slip clutch, and they should be locked and meshed into each other, but obviously they're not. So you can see there the splines have completely wrung off it, and inside the slip clutch it's not much better, it's completely gone as well. They're totally wrung off. So that's the problem. So obviously I have broken down the slip clutch so you can see all the different bands. So obviously if you take them apart and you're putting it back together again, it goes steel band, steel band, steel band all the way down. So the bands are the carbon clutches or carbon bands. So anyway, what do? We found another shaft. So to buy the whole gearbox it's about $550 plus VAT, and instead of buying the whole gearbox, I was able to just buy the shaft. So obviously that's the original shaft. We managed to get this bearing here pressed off it and pressed onto the new shaft. It was cold pressed off and cold pressed on, so you can see all the witness marks there. I was going to heat it and do it with a bit of heat to make it slide a bit easier, but I asked, and this said, just in case you take any of the temper out of it, better off to do it cold. So they had a big hydraulic press, so they were able to just press off the old one off this and press it back onto this. This side here, it takes another big cog just here, but it just slides on and there's a nut to lock it on. So that was quite easy. It's 16:1 if you're looking for it. It's 16:1 with a 540 gearbox. And if it's a 1000-speed gearbox, I assume it's a different set of ratios. New bearing installed. New cog pressed on. Now the slip clutch, I was not able to find the exact slip clutch, and it is a 1360. I know the numbers have gone off a bit there, but it is a 1360. And this is the 1360 gearbox, or the slip clutch for it. And you can see that there's a six-sided cog or spline in it. Then as you lift each line up, okay, it doesn't want to come out. But anyway, you get the idea. So I was not able to find the exact same as this. I was able to find this one, which is an overrun clutch. So there's the overrun beside it. Why is everything so stuck? Look at that, one-handed. So there's the overrun on it, and there's little dogs or little teeth just here, and they fling out when you're slowing down, and they lock when you're speeding up. So the shaft here would be like this one here, but it's about 3 meters long, and it has a big long nose on it to support the bearing just here. So obviously I didn't get that, and this is kind of obsolete. I couldn't find this exact same clutch that I need, so I got this one. And what I'm going to do is discard this half of it and keep the bottom half. So the bottom half has the correct splines that'll match onto this splines here. So that's inside the gearbox, this is outside the gearbox, so I just need this piece. That's one of the discs, and you can see it there. So there should be 4 bands. Unfortunately mine I think has welded itself together, so I'm going to have 2 bands instead of 4 bands, which will still work. It'll still do the exact same thing. And the shaft here is identical to this one, but how do I lock it? Because you can't have that little walk on and off. So what I'm going to do is just line the 2 of them up like that, push it through, and whatever sticks out about 4 mil. So just come down here, run the angle grinder the whole way around, just cut some of those teeth, and then use a spring or whatever it's called, and that'll slide in there, and it'll open up enough that'll lock itself on and stop this from walking on and off. But bit of work, but it was a lot cheaper than doing this way, and unfortunately I don't know, I just couldn't find anywhere that was selling the bits I actually needed. This is the way I had to go around to actually get the parts, because just by chance it's the middle of silage season and there's none for breaking. Right, let's get into the video. Okay, now after giving it a little angle grind the whole way around, there's a little groove all the way around, and we can put it in our spring clip just there, and we'll use the circlip and pliers and we'll open it up and it'll fit in there, and that means then the shaft is now locked onto this. It doesn't have to be like aggressive that it's physically holding, it just stops it just from moving up and down. That's all it has to do. Okay, so we just turned the shaft around, so it's now upside down. So that's the bit that's going into the slip clutch. This goes into the gearbox. We have this piece here, it's the big cog, and it just slides down on top of the shaft. Like that. So that sits flush. New bearing obviously, and that just goes in and just tightens up. It wasn't even that tight, it was just maybe 5 Newton meters. Like it was very loose, but again, it doesn't do much. It just stops this from just walking off the shaft, but it doesn't actually carry any load. And here's a better view of the cut I put into it. So that's the outside of the gearbox, the main cog, and the 16:1 ratio cog, and this is for a 540 gearbox. Okay, after a small struggle, we have the shaft back in. We had to undo this one here just to give us enough room, so that cog went out of the way so we could get the whole lot in. A bit hard to see, but it's back in anyway. Here's the new top, and we have the new seal in, a new housing for the bearing in as well. So we're going to install this plate now into there and see how we get on. Okay, that went fairly quick. So just line up the nuts and bolts and zip them all in with the impact. Same on this side. For this one here, we just had to take the angle and just cut a slit into it, which allowed us to take out the nut, which is, there you go, take out that, or the bolt just there. So that down there is the only difficult one to take out, so we just cut it and made it much easier, and then we can undo the rest of them. I suppose you could undo the whole gearbox, but this is just, you're still going to have to undo it anyway to get that shaft out, so it just made sense just to nip the corner off that. All it was just a little tiny triangle. Nip it off, took out that one. Once that's out, you can take this shaft out, and obviously now it's just a reverse. So that's what we're doing. Next thing is to rebuild the clutch. So next we have the slip clutch. So obviously these would be the springs that would go into the back of the shaft. So they're already in there just for showing you where they would go. And this is the shaft here. This is going into the gearbox. This is into your slip clutch. And obviously, yeah, mine is going off. So what do we do? Well, this is the slip clutch that I got. It's off a slightly newer style mower, so that's the overrun on the top, but the slip clutch is at the bottom. So I needed this piece here, so we can separate it down. Take off this, so you can see that's a piece of metal with a 6-sided hole inside it. Take off the band, take off the next disc, next band. This is the piece that I'm after. So this is what I needed, but unfortunately mine is totally wrung off and can't be repaired. So we take a look at this one. The shaft is different. Well, the internal of the shaft is the same, but the outside of it is different because there's like a nose on it that'll let the overrun sit on it. I don't have it, and it won't fit onto my mower anyway. So I have to discard this piece here. Okay, so next we have band, and now the disc, or the center piece. So we can discard the rest of it. And this piece here, you can see that the internal shaft is the same. That is the same as this piece here. There is another plate stuck to it. I'm not sure if it's welded or if it's just friction welded, but I think the best thing to do is leave it alone. If I start to play with it and separate it, it mightn't go back together again. But you can see the splines on it there. So those splines and these ones here are separate, so it is meant to float in and out, but obviously it's either friction welded or just jammed or just rusted solid, but I'm not going to go near it. I think it's safer leave it alone. So my plan is obviously to keep the bottom one, discard that disc because that one's dirty, put on a new clean one, put back this shaft here, get a new friction disc, and then use all of this up to this half here, ignoring this piece here, and we just use the same springs and everything, and it should all work. I have obviously cut a hole or a slot in the shaft just there to accept the spring washer, So I think it should all work. I can't see why it shouldn't work. So let's give it a go. Okay, let's bolt it up and put onto this. Now obviously, if I had the right one, you could put the spring clips in and you could build it on the bench and then just install it straight off. But because I have to modify this one because I cannot find the original slip clutch anywhere for sale, I can go back to John Deere, but the price of the slip clutch is probably actually the same price as the entire mower of what it's worth. So there's no point buying a brand new one. So I'm going to try and install this now. Hopefully one-handed, maybe on the video, maybe I won't be able to show it. But yeah, I think it's going together pretty well. Okay, that's now that installed. Now it's a matter of lining up the ring, installing this, and getting all my hardware back onto it. Okay, so that's now the clutch redone. So I had to make up a spacer because I'm missing 2 clutch bands, and each band is about 4 or 5 mil, so that's a 10 mil spacer, so it works out. Otherwise the nut or the bolt would be sticking out so far it would hit off these little nuts here. Anyway, basically you can ignore that if you have the right bands. Just by chance I don't. But the spring, which is the most important bit, they have to be tightened to 4 mil. So, or 4 centimeters, which is 40 mil. So that's the spring there from either end, and they're all tightened down. And then the nut here is actually lock nut. So this ring here is actually threaded. So the bolts will thread into this, and then the nut at the end is only a lock to make sure that they don't wind themselves back out. And once that's down to 4 centimeters or 40 mil, that's correct for that slip clutch. Okay, next up I got the belt back on. So to get the belt back on, you put a pin down to there and to the second eye, pull it back. That'll lift the idler wheel. Once the idler wheel is up, you might need a second person for it. You can get this belt on. Once the belt is on, you can release the idler wheel again and put the tension back in to the belt. And that drives the conditioner mower that sits at the very back. Okay, what else did I do? I think, oh yeah, we have to fill the gearbox now with gear oil. So this is the gear oil I use. It's 80W90. You undo this one here, and there's a fill to dribble just there. And once you put the funnel here, you fill it. You open this one here, wait till it dribbles back out. Maybe you can't see it very well. There it is. You wait till it dribbles back out, and then you know you have the gearbox filled. Obviously keep it nice and level, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, cover's all back on, so I've still to get this cover back here on, and then we're done. So now the mower all back together again, and it's running great. So guys, thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment and subscribe. I'll see you next time. If this video helped you or you like to support the channel, please press the super thanks button.